What's going on, everybody? This is actually my second attempt of making a gameplay video for Gran Turismo 5 PlayStation 3. I had a problem with left and right triggers. I had just recently installed the game, tried to play it, and left and right triggers, actually L2 and R2, did not work for either of my controllers. So hopefully resetting the game console will remedy that. Let's see. Okay, how are we looking at in the screen here? Alright, this is the main screen. You have your GT mode, which is your main mode. I've already played this game for a little bit, and so I started a new season. It's basically kind of like a role-playing game in a sense, where you start off with nothing, you level up, you buy one car, and you race that car, you get more money, and you can buy new cars. I think I have 2 or 3 cars now, but I'll show a little bit of all the options and all the possibilities that you can do in this game, and hopefully, you know, if you have PlayStation 3, that you can make a good decision whether or not you want to pick this game up or just rent it. So first off, let's quick do arcade mode. Make sure this game actually works before I continue. Okay, so you can do single race, time trial, which is pretty self-explanatory. You keep going around the track as many times as you need to, and keep beating your scores. There are ghosts, which show you your fastest time that you can race against to give you an idea if you're doing well or not. The drift trial mode, I've only tried that once. I had a really hard time with it. I think the car that I used wasn't really good, but the basic idea is you pretty much have to pick a track, and there's certain turns, there's flags in the beginning and at the end of the turn. You get points depending on how well you drift between the 2 points. So I'll try that a little bit later and attempt to get some score. Now obviously that's 2-player battle. 2 people can play on the same TV, split screen. Let's go to single race. Obviously this is the difficulty levels. We're going to do beginner level. Now most of these tracks, at least some of the beginning ones, are actual original tracks from one of the first Gran Turismo games that's been out. For what I remember, there was Gran Turismo 1 and 2 for PlayStation. Then there was 3 and actually 3 and 4 for PlayStation 2. I could be wrong. Then of course 5 Prologue, which is sort of like a demo version in a sense, or actually probably like an arcade version of Gran Turismo 5, where you couldn't upgrade or do anything special with your cars, but you could race. And of course this one here, which everything is pretty much customizable, which was basically how all the Gran Turismo series were. So let's go ahead and start off. Looks like high speed ring, sunny, or rainy. We're gonna do sunny. That is the current car. I believe that I think that's part of my favorites from my Gran Turismo GT mode. Or you can pick arcade only, which you can pick a select group of cars. Actually a lot you can choose from. And portable garage, I believe, is if you have the PSP version of the game, which I don't. Looks like you can bring your cars over from that. So I guess we'll do this car here. It's got some upgrades to it. I play on a manual transmission. It's actually more of a hindrance than it is if you were to use automatic transmission, but it does make it more fun for me. And that's how I've always played the older Gran Turismo games. Now I downloaded or installed the game in the hard drive, and before that, even though this still takes a long time to load up, it's probably half as long. So pretty much the download time is cut in half. So it is sort of worth it, even though I think it's about 8 gigabytes. So you have to have a lot of space on your PlayStation 3, which I don't. I think I've used every available gigabyte available on my system, but it does make a difference. And I'm assuming, as you can play online, that you're going to want to do that regardless. Alright, let's see if I can actually play the game now. Yep, looks like we're good shape. Alright. Now you can remove the driving line, but I keep it in there because I'm not used to the tracks yet. And they do help you to know when to start slowing down, or at least know the general driving line of each track. The one thing about this game is there's virtually no collision issues. It's very smooth. If you bounce off the wall, it barely affects the racing, but you can change the options where your car will take damage, but I currently have that off right now. And yes, the computer will ram you every chance they get. And I'll ram them every chance I get to. Oh, he's about to lose control. That's what you get for driving looks like a Camaro. Now there's different views, which when I get to it straight away, I'll change the views, and also, oops, I'm not paying attention here. When I do the different tracks, I'll do different views. This is my favorite view. It's where you can see most of the track. Let's see, I gotta hit the select button, which is difficult when you're using an analog stick. Depending, there is an in-car view, but it really depends on the car in the game. Not every car has that feature. My guess is they didn't want to actually, have that much information about every single car in the game. There's thousands of cars. You can imagine that they're not going to spend the time to show you the interior of a 1989 Honda Civic or something. So it is dependent on the actual car. So that's your basic concept of arcade mode. I mean, you race against 16 people. It's a good way to test out different cars before you buy them. Because one of the difficult things in GT mode, if you're not using some sort of guide, is you don't really know what you're buying until you have it. And then once you get the car, you spend some money to update it, and you realize that the car's really not that good. So let's back out. So my guess is if you have this game and you go to install it and you have the problem that I did where the L2 and R2 buttons aren't registering, just turn your PlayStation off, turn it back on. It seems to fix the issue. Let's do a lap and time trial mode real quick. Do a different track. I'll use a different car, and I'll show you the different views that you can use. Yeah, I've also noticed that the pictures for the vehicles, they take a while to upload because It's just like if you're on the internet where it has to load each individual one up, and of course there's probably almost like 50 cars to choose from. It takes a while for everything to load up. It's one of the downsides, but it's not really a big deal. You just have to be patient. There. See, there's a NASCAR. Then you got the more sports cars. So we're gonna do the Calsonic. You can adjust everything before you start. Like I have manual transmission, which I will keep, even though it makes it more difficult. I have the racing tires, driving light on or off. Traction control, usually leave that because once you lose traction in this game, you're pretty much off the track until you get used to the controls. Skid recovery force, active steering, basically helps you if you're losing control. That's off, which is fine. Same thing with active stability management. Most of this stuff is really complicated. I just usually leave it the way it is. You can customize everything if you actually know what you're doing, because you can actually end up making it more difficult for yourself, at least with a faster car. So just leave everything the way it is and just determine whether or not you want to use automatic or manual transmission. There we go. Alright, so obviously I don't have any records on here. So we'll go ahead and start it. You can load a previous Ghost replay. And I'm assuming once you do a couple laps and you save it, you just go to save Ghost replay, you can reload it later. Alright, so this is a view of inside the car. You see it has like natural gauges, you see a real steering wheel, it's like you're really in the car. It's pretty cool. Certain tracks, it's almost impossible to race this way because you can't really see that much. But it does make it a little more interesting, a little bit more fun. But at the same time, makes it twice as hard. So it really depends. You know, if you're really trying to be serious and win, you probably don't want to use this view. But it is kind of interesting to check it out. And if you have the PlayStation Move camera, supposedly as you turn your head left or right, the camera is supposed to shift left or right. Alright, so this is the other view, which is just the front of the car, so it's almost like your head's in front of the windshield. This isn't too bad. As you can tell, still have different types of digital gauges. Let's see, the next one obviously is the car. I personally think that this is pretty hard too, depending on what you're used to. Because you see the vehicle as you turn left and right. It's not so bad on this track, but when you're doing different tracks, you tend to overcorrect because you see your car shifting one way or the other. So it's really a preference thing. I've never been good at doing it this way. I think the only game I could play well is Project Gotham. And then of course this one here, which is my favorite. You can see the most. You got the rear view mirror, and you got the natural, well, not really natural gauges, but you have easy to read gauges that are analog and not digital, so you know what's going on. As you can tell, the yellow arrow is obviously my ghost of the first lap. Okay, and now it should update for my last lap because it was faster. Then I can continue to, race better and better. For certain tracks, it's more useful than others. Like you'll know if you've done like 5 or 6 laps, and you see your ghost all of a sudden shoot ahead of you, well, you obviously did something worse than before, then you can correct it on the next lap. So we'll go ahead and finish this one up. It's also a good way if you're playing GT mode and you're always losing. Just find out how fast the computer is going. Go practice that track on on a time trial, and just keep get the car that you plan on using and keep going around the track until you figure out that you can keep up with the computer, which is a good way to get through some of that. So that was time trial mode. We're going to go ahead and try to drift next, and hopefully I can figure that out. I'm not really good at that. Okay, next up, drift trial. Don't really know what track I want to use. Obviously, the one with more turns, the better. But for the sake of this video, I guess I'll do this one. This one isn't too long, at least. Now, naturally, the best option is a car with rear-wheel drive, but it doesn't really matter which car you use. But traditionally, rear-wheel drive is the best for drifting, which this car is pretty good. Of course, it's not set up, but we're going to use this car anyway. I'm going to try this on automatic because it's probably going to help. The one thing that's good about this game is there are a lot of music tracks that come with it, and you can actually specify whether you want that music to be while you're racing, or menu music, or whatever. So if you don't like the racing music, you can change that for maybe the more jazzy style intro or menu music. So it's pretty cool, and you can use your own music as well. So let's try this out here. Alright, this is only the second time I've done this, so I know there's 2 flags and you're going to try to drift around, so let's see if I can do this. Oh, I actually got some points that time. No, not too bad. Not great, but at least I did something. I actually made an entire lap without getting any points. That's how bad it was. The trick is to hit the e-brake, hit the gas, and kind of feather it. Keep the car sideways as long as you can, and snag as much points as you can possibly handle. Now that might actually be easier with a different view. I used my normal view, which probably doesn't help. Okay, so I guess you could just do that. You record your high scores. I'm assuming there's probably a leaderboard somewhere. I haven't seen it yet, but so that's basically the concept of drift racing. I won't go too further into that. Okay, obviously the last part is 2 battle mode, which I'm not going to do. And that pretty much includes the arcade mode portion of it. It's very simple. It's a good way to just play the game. You can use different cards. You don't have to spend a lot of time, ranking up and making money to play. So we'll end this portion of the playthrough. I will continue on and show a little bit more of the GT mode. I'll do a video on the course maker and maybe I'll go into the Gran Turismo TVs. I have no idea what that is. I haven't tried that yet. Then I'll show you some of the options, customization that you can do with the actual playing of the game.